This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Never in doubt, people. Never in doubt. Survives in advance. Canada moves on to the semifinals at the Olympic Games. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Great to be with you all today after a nation collectively exhales after Mitch Marner's brilliant OT winner in 3-on-3 overtime avoids disaster for our men's national team in Milan at the Olympic Games with a 4-3 overtime win over Czechia. We are going to be all over this today. Our pal Mike McIntyre with the Winnipeg Free Press was at the game. He's finishing up his duties for the Freep and is going to join us from Italy in about half an hour. After that, we'll dig into the game a little bit more with Murat Atesh. And, with so much interest in this game, it's all hands on deck for WST. We'll start it off with a little three-way conversation. Connor and Remo will join me in just a minute. Great to see everybody in the chat right now. People are, I would suggest, quite relieved that the team was able to hold on. But it was never going to be completely easy. And I will say this, I think having a near-death experience like this is going to help Canada moving forward. And we're going to get to a bunch of the topics. Certainly very bad news in the game, the loss of Sidney Crosby. We'll see what that means moving forward. But if he wasn't able to come back out and play in that game, in that situation, I would think, and again, this is just purely speculation, that it might be a little bit more that might keep him out of the next couple of games, which would really be unfortunate. But it took other guys to step up. Nick Suzuki, after missing a Mason Appleton-esque wide open net earlier in the game, was the hero late, deflecting in one past Lucas Dostal to tie the game. And then it was Mitch time in overtime. What a play. A goal that will go down right at the top of Mitch Marner highlights for his entire career, putting Canada into the semifinals. We'll tell you, we've had a couple ups. Well, I mean, listen, the Slovak win over Germany, that was basically a pick-em, but for the Slovaks to beat them as handily as they did, 6-2, I think was a real surprise. And the big surprise is happening on right now. At the second intermission, the Swiss, without Kevin Fiala, are up 2-0 on the Finns. Now, the way things work is that USA and Sweden will be dropping the puck at 2:10. If Sweden wins, they will play Canada. If Sweden loses and the U.S. moves on, it'll be U.S., Slovakia, and Canada versus the winner of this game right now. So we're going to keep our eyes on Milan and see what's happening between the Swiss and the Finns throughout the afternoon. And then, of course, on the USA game when things get going on a little bit later. Just before we bring in the fellas, do want to thank all the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet, the Winnipeg Jets, Chud's Power Sports, Princess Auto, Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, Manitoba Battery, St. Vital Dental Center, Rowley's Transfer, the HSC Foundation. Of course, the auction is up right now. We'll tell you about that coming up in just a few minutes. Little Brown Jug, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Aikens Lake, Manitoba Battery as well. We will get to a Why Not question of the day for Not AutoCorp at Waverly and McGillivray, and remind you all to get your tickets for the St. B Million Choices Lottery. Let's get right down to the game. Welcome to everybody in chat. Shout out to you podcast listeners. And welcome to you, Michael Remis and Connor Hrabchak. Remo, I said never in doubt, but let's face it, there was a lot of doubt. If people could see some of the distress in the group chat we had, and probably group chats all across the country, they'll realize just how tight that game was.
Yeah, a lot of nervous moments. He felt similar to the way he felt in the third period of Game 7 with Jets and the Blues, except it's Team Canada and it's for a goal. And you're like, not like this. Having flashbacks to Hasek in 98, Dostal making all the saves, rethinking every roster decision, lamenting Nick Suzuki missing the empty net and hitting the post. A lot of comparisons to Mason Appleton in the Dallas game out there, but there's Nick Suzuki totally redeeming himself on a one-man effort where it looked like he was looking for a change to buy time, goes down low, comes out with the puck, goes to the net, and tips it past Dostal. I was sitting alone in my basement screaming while my wife was upstairs. I don't know where everyone else was, but I think it's somewhere where you'll remember where you were and how you felt. And, 3-on-3 overtime, you felt like it was a pretty good shot with McDavid, McKinnon, Makar starting, couldn't get it done. Shout out to Jordan Binnington. Maybe some questions about starting him when they're down, but he came up with some big saves late in the third and in overtime. And Canada, with, of course, Mitch Marner, who had the assist on the Four Nations winner, has the goal in 3-on-3 in the quarterfinal winner over Czechia.
Connor, that was quite the roller coaster. A great start, and then some of the most nervous minutes that any Canadian hockey fan will hopefully have this entire tournament.
Yeah, I thought Frege and Bieksa on the panel right after summed it up pretty well. They both said, "I need a cigarette" immediately. That was stressful as hell, man. For a quarterfinals game, like, there's the immediate PTSD of it being Czechia, right? Because they've owned us in the World Juniors the past couple of years.
Canadian kryptonite.
Yes, as of late, like, they absolutely have been. And the past 2 out of the 3 years have been in the quarters in the World Juniors too. And then Crosby goes down. And then Czechia scores that goal with just over 7 minutes remaining, or just under 8 minutes, I should say. And there's this moment of, like, we waited 12 years for best on best NHL players to be back. Canada has this loaded roster, and they're not even going to play for a medal. Like, they're down 3-2 with 7 minutes left. And if they don't score, they're not even playing for a medal. They're going home. They're done. So for Nick Suzuki to tie it and then Mitch Marner to win it, and in between all of that, Jordan Binnington, man, this guy, like, I don't care what his save percentage is in the NHL anymore. In the biggest moment, he shows up once again. Unbelievable. One of the best hockey games I've ever watched. One of the most stressful hockey games I've ever watched. And, like, there's nothing, I put this out, there's nothing quite like losing a few years off your life on a Wednesday before noon, Huss.
Yeah, easy for you to say. You've got plenty of them left. I was worried about making it through the afternoon. I see Liz is in chat. Guys, I'm still crashing out. I feel sick as hell. Liz, we won. Just take a chill pill. Get ready for the women's. Now you got to get locked in for USA Canada tomorrow. Women's hockey. And listen, and this is a perfect example just leading into tomorrow. I mean, Canada was an absurd. Connor, we were going through the numbers earlier on Monday. I mean, I think the quarterfinal number is like minus 1429 or something like that. Like, literally an unbettable number. The Czechs were like 6 or 7 to 1. So at plus 330, Canada definitely has a chance. By the way, Liz is going to join us tomorrow on the program, and we'll get the latest on the women's gold medal game tomorrow. That's going to be starting at noon. So we invite all of you to come in for a little bit of a WST, a watch-along party, as we'll be keeping an eye on that game throughout the program, and of course getting ready for the semifinals. But Reem, the game had a little bit of everything. I mean, a great start by the Canadians. Guess who? My guy, Macklin Celebrini, scoring again. Gets the team off to a good start, but then I got to give a lot of credit to the Czechs, the way they really pushed back. They created some big-time scoring chances in that game, made the most on a couple, and all of a sudden it's 2-1. And for the first time all tournament, Canada was in a deficit, and you could feel going into that second period that the tension of the situation was taking over the building, and was certainly being felt on the Canadian bench, especially after Sidney Crosby went off injured.
Yeah, Canada hadn't been down all tournament so far, and you're wondering, okay, how are they going to react? This is their first real adversity, and Czechia played such a hard first period, throwing the body around, Radko Gudas stepping up and Crosby trying to get out of the way, goes down and tweaks his leg and then got double teamed by two guys. So they were running around, and credit to them. David Pasternak, who's been really quiet all tournament, showed off that big shot on Jordan Binnington. And then on their first goal, what a turnover, led to another odd man rush. So puck management was an issue for Canada in the first period. As you mentioned, they don't need much. I didn't think they had a lot of chances in the first, but McDavid strips the puck and finds Celebrini on a backhand. So I thought Czech, it was looking like the game was playing into their hands in the first period. And Canada down 2-1, how are they going to react going into the second and third? So, Czechia, credit to them, they played the type of game they needed to play, but Canada just a bit better for the full 60 plus.
Obviously, Celebrini getting off to the great start, but you could feel, Connor, the stress on the Canadians to score goals. And then losing Sidney Crosby affects you in so many different ways. But in a way, I think it was kind of liberating for Nick Suzuki to get back into the middle. He seemed to be far more comfortable playing center where he plays night in and night out with the Montreal Canadiens. But man, he missed that net. You were wondering whether that was going to be the moment. And by the way, Nick Lynham, it was unnecessary to post the Mason Appleton photo. That was not anything we needed to see on our timelines when we were scrolling around at the intermission. But what a moment for Suzuki to get that goal, a perfect deflection past Dostal. And Dostal was playing so well at the time, it kind of really felt like they were going to need a break, sort of a dirty goal, something in and around the goal mouth if they were going to beat him.
And Huss, what a play by Suzuki. He's 1-on-3. Everyone else has gone for a change. He's at the end of a shift. He gets the red line. We're all just expecting him to hammer it in, and the new guys will come on and figure it out. But he kind of soft chips it to the corner, keeps possession, goes and fights the puck loose, gets it to the point, and then goes right to the front of the net. And it's an incredible deflection. Like you said, that shot is going 4 feet wide, and he sticks his stick out and gets it through the legs of Dostal. And yeah, Suzuki was getting ripped online for the miss in the second period and really his play overall. So for him to make that play in that moment where, again, if Nick Suzuki dumps that puck in, we might just be talking about Canada, the most disappointing quarterfinals loss in a long time or ever at the Olympics, right? So look, that's an incredible play. And then Mitch Marner gets the OT winner. But Suzuki kicking back into the middle, they needed someone to step up. You could tell McDavid was going, Celebrini was going. They put McKinnon up there. I still think McKinnon is playing through this injury and it's clearly affecting him, but he was still dynamic. They needed someone else to contribute, and they got it from Suzuki when they needed it the most and pushed it into OT, and then Marner took care of it from there.
It's funny that you said this could be the most disappointing loss ever. That, obviously for your generation, for sure. I mean, we go back to the Canadian kryptonite ream and the story of the Czechs just being the thorn in our side. And we've seen it happen recently in the World Juniors.
Hasek.
Yeah, we're just going to bring up Hasek. What was that, Nagano in 98?
Yep.
I mean, there is a great history of loaded powerhouse Canadian teams going up against Czech teams that are completely outmanned talent-wise and player for player, but, through, a strong team game, great heart, and then obviously goaltending, they were able to win. And I'll be honest, I thought Lukas Dostal was phenomenal today. And listen, the Czechs deserve a lot of credit. I mean, they had some slot shots. It was mainly that top line, but he did seem to see most of that stuff. And it ended up being a situation. You often see this when guys are dialed in the National Hockey League, and we hear Scott Arniel and coaches talk about it, where, these aren't going to be pretty. It's going to be, finding a way to get the puck at the net, to get the extra man, to get one step on another player and take advantage of it. And that was what it did. Now, Remis, if you can pull up this Drance tweet, because I'll be honest, I completely lost this. I was doing the lock shop into overtime as we got ready for this program. So I just saw this afterwards, but fill us in on the controversy around the go-ahead goal by the Czech Republic.
Yeah, big controversy. And somehow this got missed by the broadcast, but it was not missed online. I saw Thomas Drance of The Athletic tweeting out this picture, Steve Peters as well, former NHL video coach. Yeah, he would notice this. So look at the play. Harley shoots it into Thomas Hertl, sprawled on the ice. 1, 2, 3 in front of the net. 4, 5, 6. So they had 6 guys on the ice for the go-ahead goal. 6 guys celebrating. And how this was missed by absolutely everyone. And how, like, imagine if Canada lost, the controversy that would happen, how we would be talking about this forever. Canada with this absolutely loaded team, generational first overall picks, McDavid, McKinnon, Celebrini, Makar, on and on, the players that they have. Thankfully, they were able to come back. Otherwise, we would be extremely livid. But I don't know how this was missed at all. Like, and that's kind of why they struggled on the odd man rush there, because they had 6 guys on the ice. Those cheaters. They're a bunch of cheaters. So, craziness.
Good on them for finding a way to get away with it. Like, where were the Canadian coaches and the video staff at that point? Like, the funny thing is that goal happened. No one was losing their mind on the bench, or at least, from the television broadcast. Like, I didn't see literally anybody notice it other than a couple guys on Twitter.
I'll put my hand up. I didn't notice it in the moment, but they're looking back at the goal. There are 6 guys celebrating the goal on the ice in like the huddle. Like, I don't know.
Can you review that?
No, I doubt that's reviewable. Like,
Well,
to take it out, to take a
there's
goal.
6 guys on the ice.
No,
Probably
but-
the easiest review that exists in hockey.
I agree, but I just mean, like, I doubt that there's a rule where you can take a goal off the board because of too many men. I don't know. I'd have to look. But yeah, it would be the easiest review. There's 6 guys on the ice.
Yeah,
unbelievable, man.
Yeah, that's
I mean, we can laugh about it now, but can you imagine if that was the difference between Canada moving on and being thwarted their Olympic dreams in the quarterfinal? I have a feeling there's probably some tough conversations being had in the referee room, in the coach's room. Like, I would think that if they knew right away that it was 6-on-5, you could yell at the refs and they might say, oh, wait a second, this is too many men, and disallow the goal. But I think that speaks to just the stress and the emotions of this game and the theater of the Olympics, that people are so focused in on the puck and the play that even people whose jobs are to have a clear view of everything, starting with the officials and certainly the staffs on both teams, and in this case, Canada, was able to miss something like that, Reem.
Yeah, I mean, you're so focused on what happened on the ice, the shot block, the odd man rush, the puck in the back of the net, and you're thinking about, oh man, like, you don't even think it's possible to have 6 guys on for that long. And there are how many officials on the ice? 4? And none of them noticed it, and the Canada coaching staff? Crazy. I'm curious how that even got past everyone, except for people watching on TV. Again, not something you think about. I don't, like, it seemed to be for a while they had 6 on, and Binnington had made a big save right before that as well. And, how many odd man rushes can you give up? And there were some, tough plays where, some bad puck management, some turnovers. Harley shooting it into Thomas Hertl, who's on the ground for a bit. And a nice play by them. And you mentioned it, Czechia, they have some good NHL players. They got a superstar in Pasternak. They got the legend, Roman Chervenka, 40-year-old captain with 2 assists. I've been rocking that guy in EA Sports NHL since like 2010 with Czechia. Phil Hronek had a nice game. Radko Gudas, I like the quote from him that said, hey, if you don't think we should win, you shouldn't be out here playing. And they certainly played well. And Marty Necas was their most impactful player, only got 1 assist on the score sheet. But they had some big players come up. But Canada didn't give up, scoring with just under 4 minutes left. Suzuki, or just over 4, whatever the time is, and Mitch Marner into overtime, where, I mean, they looked like they were playing past there, and Celebrini, he's like, well, I'm just going to walk in here, and I don't know how he scored on a backhand from that angle, but what a goal. And those are the 2 players people were dogging on during the game. Suzuki hadn't done much. Marner, always whipping boy for Leafs fans. And credit to Marner, big part of 2 huge goals now for Canada.
Just got to keep your eyes out for that extra man. Hey, shout out to the Nick in chat with a nice super chat. Not for nothing, but Suzuki and Binnington are both Owen Sound Attack alumni. Go Attack, go. What's up, Nick? And shout out to any Owen Sound Attack fans that are jumping in on the show today here in the Peg. The Finns have scored. We're just approaching 4 minutes left in the game, and it's 2-1 Switzerland. So we will keep you apprised of all of that. And again, if you just jumped in late, this is the scenario. Should Sweden win, they will play Canada, and the USA will be out. If USA wins, USA will place the Slovaks, and the Canadians will play the winner of this game that has 4 minutes remaining right now. Switzerland up 2-1. So, Connor, what is really crazy is we were just a couple minutes away from having a semifinalists. 3 of the 4 teams not in the 4 nations last year, like the perceived big 4, especially with the Russians not in the party. And a great win by Slovakia. A really gutsy performance right now from Switzerland, hanging on. Like, without Kevin Fiala, one of their few real elite NHL scoring stars. And, obviously the Canadians moving on, but it was almost Czechia. It just goes to show how great the talent is in this tournament. And it's easy to say, wow, you just put McDavid and Celebrini and McKinnon on a line, and, who's going to stop that? Well, it's hockey. That's why they play the games, and the varianceness and the randomness often of 1-game eliminations make it as intense and as exciting as probably anything we'll ever watch.
Exactly, Huss. That's hockey to a T. Like, it's 1 game. Anything can happen in 1 game. Jordan Binnington can go from an .860 save percentage goaltender over a large sample to a goalie who wins in the biggest moments in 1 game. Like, our goalie for Canada is the perfect example of, like, anything can happen in 1 big game. And you look at the territorial advantage of this game for Canada. They dominated in slot shots, inner slot shots, everything. Like, they controlled play even without Sidney Crosby for the back half of that game. But you mix in a hot goalie in Dostal, you mix in a few rush goals for Czechia and a number of rush chances, and this game was a coin flip. And that's like the perfect David versus Goliath game from a Czechia perspective that I thought they played. The counter punches, the rush chances, all of those things. But Canada was absolutely controlling the play, controlling the chances, all of these things. And it still came down to Jordan Binnington needing to make a number of big saves. How about the one off Natchez breakaway with a minute left? There were 2 shots on that breakaway that Binnington stopped both, and a number of chances before and after that. So, all of those things were running through my head, Huss, that, oh my goodness, could we have Czechia playing for a medal and Canada out? We waited 12 years for this, and they're not even going to play for a medal. But, and the 6 players on the ice, I'm sure there'd be riots in the street right now, but thank goodness we don't have to talk about any of that. And we can just focus on either the Swiss or Sweden or Finland. I guess if Finland stages a comeback here in the final minutes in the semis for Canada, and then they'll play Friday morning at 9:40. And I'm calming down from this one, but I'm already nervous for the next one too.
Yeah, no doubt. But honestly, I think that this near-death experience is a great thing for Canada moving forward now that we're past it.
Chris Pronger said the same thing on Twitter. He was sharing his experience.
Well, two very bright minds in the hockey world, myself and Pronger. Yes. I'll be happily be grouped in with Pronger.
There you go.
In that group, but there will be adversity, and we saw it last year in the 4 Nations, and we saw it, in that gold medal game last year where the team was down 3-2 and they had to tie it to get it to overtime. But the fact that they did it without Sid on the bench, like the Sid just seems like he is the conscience of Team Canada. He's the captain. He is the identity guy. But I can't say enough about everyone. I thought Hagel late in the game was a monster. Obviously, Nick Suzuki. Mark Stone did have that giveaway earlier in the game that led to one of the Czech goals that I'm sure he would definitely like back. But he was good on the puck. And then, for Suzuki to move over to center and get the job done in the absence of Sidney Crosby was big, big, big. I saw Dylan Young asking, what's up with Josh? Morrissey did not play today, but it seemed like, and I don't want to say that they were that confident that they were going to win, but it seemed like he maybe needed an extra day. I think the plan is for him to be a full go for the semifinal, but I guess we really won't know. We expected him today. He wasn't there, so we really won't know until Friday. But we'll touch base with Mike on that. Now, we're going to have Mike join us in a few minutes. In the meantime, fellas, and maybe Connor, if you can take a look, see if we can get any... Like, I can't wait to hear what Jon Cooper has to say about the game, also about that Czech goal. And then we'll have Mike and Murat jump on the program. And then afterwards, we'll hopefully be able to go to that Canadian dressing room with a little bit of reaction from some of the coaching staff and the team. And then Pat Gregoire is going to join us a little bit later on the program. But listen, before Mike comes on, do want to remind everyone to get over to the website and check out the HSC Foundation's auction in conjunction with their gala dinner on Saturday night. One of the prizes is the ultimate fly-in fishing getaway to Aikens Lake, hosted by me. You and a guest will join us for 3 incredible days and nights on the water at Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge at some point during the spring or summer. The website is givergy.ca/savor 2026. You see it's right up there in the top right corner. Remember, if you can, maybe throw it in the chat as well. Oh, looks like the Finns have tied this game up. Wow. So we're going to be following some OT in that one. Listen, we've told you a million times about how incredible Aikens Lake is. This is all in support of the very important work over at the Health Sciences Center. And while you're there, I mean, not just the fishing. I'd love to have you join me for the fishing. That'll be amazing. There's also a couple of great Jets packages. There's a couple amazing chef's table opportunities. There's some great stuff all in support of the HSC. So everything will be closed up on Saturday, but if you make a bid, you can get notified when it's bid on top of to stay on top of it. But we had such great support from Winnipeg Sports Talk listeners last year for both the fishing trip as well as everything else there. Make sure you get in today and keep checking it throughout the week for further bids. It'll be finalized at the end of the gala on Saturday night. So again, givergy.ca/savor 2026. And hopefully I'll see you at the amazing Aikens Lake a little bit later on this year. Hey, if you need to get your head away from hockey for a little bit after the stress of earlier today, maybe tonight's the night you head on down to Uptown Alley. Take advantage of that amazing bowl and play special after 9 p.m. every day, with 90 minutes of bowling and a $10 arcade card for $20.49. Listen, Uptown Alley is the best place to get together with friends, family, groups, corporate events for a heck of an awesome time. Tons of 5-pin lanes, 10-pin lanes, laser tag, and a state-of-the-art arcade, and incredible food and beverage options. And if you're doing group or parties there, simply let them know what activities you want to do, what you want to eat or drink, any add-ons, and their event staff will take care of everything else. You can find out more information on everything they've got going on at uptownalley.ca or give them a call at 488-0000, Uptown Alley, 1301 St. Matthews Avenue. Our friends at Rolly's Transfer are ready for the spring and summer. It's always busy with people making moves to new homes. If you need some assistance with your move, lean on the experts at Rolly's. They've been doing it. Family owned and operated for over 60 years and the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Head on over to their website at rollies.com. Click on request an estimate, top right corner. Put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And then let them know when and where you're moving to, what needs to be moved. They'll turn it around with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that they've been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, lean on Rollies, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more today at rollies.com. And just before we bring in Mike outside the rink in Milan, all smiles for Canadian hockey fans today. And speaking of smiles, if you need to get your smile worked on, it'll never look better after a trip to Dr. Terry and the good people over at St. Vital Dental Center. Beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's Road. with convenient free parking right behind the building and a full array of dental services, from cleanings and checkups to surgeries like dental implants. They do it all, as they've been doing for generations of Winnipeggers. A great spot for your long-term family home for all your dental needs, taking care of clients from 6 months to 99 plus. Pop by and see him, 167 St. Anne's Road. You can go online and make an appointment today at stvitaldental.ca. All right. Let's, Mike McIntyre, we're just going to bring in Mike right now. I'm not sure we've got the video or not. Oh, yeah, there he's on. Let me fire out the why not question of the day just before we bring Mike in. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverley and McGillivray. Without Sidney Crosby in the lineup potentially moving forward, who's the most key member of Team Canada that needs to step up going into the semifinals and hopefully final? Let us know in the chat. We'll talk about it more as we continue. All right. Our man on the street in Milan is Mike McIntyre. Mike, maybe later we'll talk about your sit-down dinner and some of the other things. That game took years off many Canadians' lives, but they survived. What was it like in the building?
Huss, I've never smoked in my life, but I could have used a cigarette after that game.
You need a light?
That was tense for sure. And you could feel it. Like, that was a very I don't know how it came across on the broadcast, but it was a very pro-Canadian crowd. I was a little surprised because Czechia has been well represented at these games, and I kind of thought they might actually overwhelm the Canadian crowd, but it was the opposite. Very heavy Canadian crowd, and my goodness, when Canada fell behind, you could almost feel it that whole third period. Here's how I saw that game, Huss. Czechia was lucky to survive the end of the second period with the game tied. Like, they were hanging on for dear life. Canada was all over them, had all the momentum, but it's like the second intermission kind of zapped that momentum, and it was a pretty even third period. And quite frankly, I was a bit surprised that Canada didn't have the foot on the gas a bit more. Don't forget, Czechia had just played yesterday. So, they were in their sixth period of elimination hockey in the last 24 hours. And I thought Canada would kind of go for the throat. They were a little too passive for my liking. And it's like you could almost feel that goal by Czechia coming. And that was a nervous final 8 minutes, certainly the last few. It's like the air had gone out of the building a bit. And I guess good for the Canadian team that they didn't crumble under the weight of the pressure. Just some big plays by some big players. And, how about Winnipegger Seth Jarvis, who gets the assist? I thought Seth Jarvis was really good tonight.
He was.
And, he gets the assist on the tying goal. What a moment for him and his buddies, of course. Just a great tip by Nick Suzuki. And then 3-on-3, I don't know, Huss. I don't think I certainly did not expect that was going to go the 10-minute distance and we were going to get to a shootout. Although I was a little curious how both teams were going to approach 3-on-3. Like, were they going to be almost playing scared? But we didn't see that at all. Of course, Czechia gets that golden chance in the first minute. Great save by Jordan Biddington, and then Mitch Marner with a world-class move. So, yeah, that was probably a lot too close for comfort for Canada. But they don't ask how, and, they're off to the medal round now. And give credit to Czechia. Like, they showed up. And that's kind of what they do at these events. And I think that's why there was a lot of Canadian fans, even before the puck dropped, that were a little nervous about this one. They've got some elite players, the Pasternaks and the Natchises, and they gave Canada a run for their money. So put me in the category of people that think this is probably a good thing for Canada. They didn't really get pushed at all in the preliminary round. And, having to battle some adversity here and be like kind of battle tested is probably going to serve them well now as they head into the semis.
Yeah, listen, I'm totally with you. We were just talking about that. If you survive a near-death experience, you're maybe more prepared for it the next time. What we didn't think that we'd have to be doing it was without Sidney Crosby. And, the way a Marner stepped up, Suzuki with that deflection in the absence of Sid was huge. But that's a big, big question mark. Just quickly take us through after the game. Did you make it down to the mix zone? Did you hear anything from any of the coaches or players?
No, I did. The mix zone was a zoo. In fact, I think we talked to almost every Canadian player. We've got a media quote loop going here, and my inbox is just absolutely overwhelmed with sound bites from almost everybody. But yeah, I'm not a doctor, obviously, Huss, and to be clear, Jon Cooper claimed that he didn't have an immediate update. It did not look good. I think you've seen. You probably have the benefit maybe more than us who are here at the venue. It's hard to get replays, believe it or not, at the rink here. But I have seen, I think it was Sportsnet that posted a still photo. I don't know who took the photo. I don't know if it was a screen grab or I think it was on Luke Fox's tweet if Remis is looking for it. But it shows Crosby's knee bending in a way that knees should not bend. And Sidney Crosby is a lot of things. He's an incredible player. Let's hope he's also a miraculously fast healer because based on what that looked like, and Huss, it's not like Canada was up 6-0 and they could just shut him down. They needed him. The fact that Captain Canada wasn't able to come out and play the rest of the game. And it's a pretty quick turnaround with the game Friday. Yeah, there's the picture. My goodness, that does not look good at all. And, it doesn't look good short term. That doesn't even look good long term. So I'm sure there's a lot of Penguins fans holding their breath as well, given that Pittsburgh has been a real surprise during the regular season. But, in the immediacy here, if I'm Canada, I'm preparing to play these last two games without the leader. And so someone, they're going to have to step up. And I know you have a poll going, Huss. Let me just throw my 2 cents in for a guy that I think can be a lot better than he was today. And that's Nathan MacKinnon. And I don't say that much about Nathan MacKinnon. This just was not the game that, quite frankly, I expected from him. I think there's a lot more that he has to give. And, you look to your absolute biggest stars, Sidney Crosby, Macklin Celebrini, those guys, your so-called role players had a nice game today. But Nathan MacKinnon is a guy that, he can single-handedly win you hockey games. And I think they'll obviously lean on him even more if Crosby's out.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Wouldn't be surprised. I'm not sure whether they'd slap a C on McDavid's chest in the absence of Crosby or whether they just go without a official captain and throw an extra A on someone's. But, let's face it, it was, it's McDavid is the guy that will bring these guys to it. And McDavid had 2 assists. Celebrini, another 3-point game, a goal and 2 assists for Mac in the game. It's nuts. Mike, I have to ask you, in speaking with the coaches and whatnot, how much was made of the Czechs' third goal that had 6 guys on the ice? How did nobody catch that?
And you know what? It's in real time, nobody did. But I can tell you this, they were well aware of it after the fact. They'd obviously looked at video. Jon Cooper actually bit his tongue and rolled his eyes and ultimately walked away. It was at the end of the scrum that he was asked about it, I guess deciding that maybe it was best to say nothing at all. But yeah, and go back to the first period, Huss. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Canada have too many guys on the ice when they gave up the first Czech goal? Canada actually had 6 guys on the ice. So, Czechia scored twice tonight with too many men on the ice, one time with their team, which should have negated the play, obviously, and the first time with Canada, which wasn't able to stop the rush. But, yeah,
is that reviewable, do you know? Could they have challenged that goal?
No. not a reviewable play. So
it seems like it'd be the easiest review to do in all of hockey.
Yeah, like considering what is reviewable, like did the puck hit the netting? Was there a high stick? Was it a millimeter offside 30 seconds before the goal? Like, you're right. But I think just like any penalty, Huss, is not reviewable. You know, did a guy get tripped? Did a guy get high sticked? It was a tough night for the Stripes, right? Like remind me who, I think it was Brandon Hagel that got the high stick to the face, and somehow that wasn't called, even though like both refs missed it. The linesman came in and you thought, okay, well, the linesman saw it, they're going to call it, and then they didn't.
I think there was some speculation that it was a follow through on
wasn't
a shot.
much of a follow through in my opinion.
And you have to touch the puck for it to be considered a shot. So anyways, but that was wild. Like, I didn't see that. And, you know, I was on with Dusty heading into this program. So we were sort of reacting in live time to what was happening. And Remo and Connor sent me that screenshot. And like, there's legitimately 6 guys in their end. And, you know, lo and behold, a guy was able to get right on Harley right away and create that turnover and break it away. What was the other sentiment of the team? I mean, after the game, I mean, was it just a matter of relief? Because I imagine that, you know, the stress level is so high, but it's not like they survived and they just won a gold medal. I mean, there's still a lot of work to be done, and they knew that they just came very close to having their Olympic dreams dashed.
Which would have been, quite frankly, a disaster. I mean, I think there's I don't want to say consensus, but there's a lot of people that feel like this is pretty much the best Canadian hockey team that's been assembled in terms of pure talent. And can you imagine if they didn't even make it to the Final Four? Like, that would have been, there would have been calls for summits. And yet, the way this tournament is, right, and a lot of players talked about this. Like, I asked Jordan Binnington, I asked Brad Marchand about, you know, what you just asked me, and you know, everybody kind of said, like, well, this is just in a one game winner take all, unlike a best of 7 or, you know, even a best of 3 or 5, where you could maybe have a little slip up and ultimately the cream will still rise to the top. In a one game one off like this, like I think it was Jordan Binnington, who said to me, one bad bounce can be the difference. And, you know, so there was a sense of relief for sure, because these guys, as much as they want to say, and a bunch of them said, you know, we block out the noise and all this stuff about us being favorites, we're not paying attention to that. They know what they have and what's expected of them. And, you know, they dodged a pretty big bullet here today. No question about it. And, you know, can you imagine right now, Huss, how the Swedes and the Americans are feeling as the fans behind me are making their way into the rink? Puck will drop in about 20 minutes. I think we all thought Sweden-US was going to be the most competitive semifinal. Maybe we just saw the most competitive one. And you know what? Switzerland and Finland are going right down to the wire. I don't know if you have an update.
Yeah, the Finns came back and just won that in overtime.
Oh my goodness! It was 2-0 Switzerland.
2-0 after 3. They scored with about 6 minutes left. They scored in the last. I'm not sure how tight it was. We were on the air, but with 4 minutes left, it was still 2-1.
Yeah.
And then it went to 3-on-3, and our Terry Lehkonen scored for the second time. So that's a heartbreaker for the Swiss. And I mean,
Nino Niederreiter had scored the second goal. Was looking, like you said, with 4 minutes left. It's 2-1. You're thinking, okay, Nino Niederreiter's got the game-winning goal that's going to put the Swiss into the medal round. That is a tough one for sure. That Swiss team they're a lot of fun. I spent some time earlier in the Olympics here with their head coach, Patrick Fisher, who has a real connection to Manitoba. He played junior hockey in Manitoba, was an exchange student as a teenager, and still has lots of good friends back in southern Manitoba. But yeah, tough one for them. I mean, Finland was the favorite. What this now means, Huss, you've got the 1 seed, the 3 seed, and the 4 seed have advanced. And so what that means is if Sweden were to win this game, that's Canada's next opponent. And then the Finns and Slovakia would meet in the other semifinals. If the U.S. were to win, then I believe it will be the Finns. So Canada's got a tough semifinal matchup. They're either going to have to play Finland or Sweden. So they'll need to be better. Let's put it this way. They'll need to be better collectively than they were today, because I don't want to disregard Czechia at all. They played really good today, but I suspect either Finland or Sweden is going to probably provide an even stiffer test on Friday.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know, man. There's something about the Czechs. I mean, I was referring to them earlier as like the Canadian kryptonite. I mean, this goes back to 98 with Hasek standing on his head. I mean, the recent World Juniors, we have all of these #1 picks who go in there and then we get bounced by the Czechs. I mean, there is something about that team and the way that they step up when they play the Canadians that a lot of other countries haven't been able to do. But again, it's about the journey, and this was, I think, very important that Canada was able to pass this test, move on, get a day of rest, and then get back at it on Friday against. And to be honest, I'd far rather play the Finns in the semifinal and then hope that we're still on a collision course for the U.S. game. I mean, first and foremost, you want to win gold, but let's face it, we've been building up to Sunday morning since last February in Boston, and in a greater stake, I mean, you can go back to those World Cup of Hockeys. I mean, everything that is about this rivalry between Canada and the United States, which for this generation is the preeminent rivalry in hockey, along with the Finns and the Swedes over in Scandinavia for sure. And it just seems like it's got to be that way. But I'll tell you what, from a U.S. perspective, they were paying attention to these games earlier on. And I think what happened to the Canadians probably helps them in that, they'll be very much aware that nothing can be taken for granted in the quarterfinals, even if you had a great 3 games against lesser opponents.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And Sweden may be the 7th seed based on the preliminary round, but that's a bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing. They were 2-1. They lost out on a kind of unlucky for them 3-way tiebreak that put them in this spot.
They shouldn't have gotten smoked by the Finns.
Right, and that's true. I mean, that they kind of made their own bed in that sense. But yeah, I mean, they're going to have their hands full, no question about it. Connor Hrabchak's going to have to be very sharp, I imagine, tonight for the Americans. And of course, Kyle Connor is nowhere to be found. Speaking of Jets, as we talk about, obviously, Nino Niederreiter's Olympics have now come to an end. The person I'm happiest for, Huss, with this Canadian win is Josh Morrissey.
Well, for sure. Fill us in. I mean, we were expecting him to play today, and then I just saw that, the tweet beforehand, he's going to be held out another game. I mean, what do we know about Josh's condition and availability moving forward?
Well, I mean, he was 3 minutes away tonight from having his Olympics end and be limited to 1 period of hockey. Because I am confident that Josh Morrissey will be in the lineup on Friday. I really am. And, I think with the injury he has, we don't know exactly what it is. Obviously, it's lower body, something leg or knee related, likely. But, he had a great skate yesterday, and that's what made me think he was going to play today, the way he was kind of flying around. And, he did some media after Huss, which, usually if a guy is not an option to play, they're probably not talking. So, and even Jon Cooper said, he looked fantastic, said he had to talk with him. I don't know exactly what happened today. Did he wake up and it just didn't feel quite right? The fact is he did skate this morning along with Sam Bennett, who's also dealing with something, and the third string goaltender here, Darcy Kemper. So, the fact, if he had any kind of step back, he wouldn't have been skating today. I just think, not that Canada, not that they took Czechia at all for granted or thought it's automatic that we win this game. I think they erred on the side of caution, and I suspect another day of rest tomorrow for Josh Morrissey, or, I don't know what their schedule is yet, if they're going to have a skate, a practice of some kind, but I got to think Josh Morrissey, there's a very good chance he's good to go on Friday in that semifinal, and that would be tremendous for him. And, if you believe in hockey gods, Huss, kind of feels like they owe Josh Morrissey a good moment, doesn't it? Given all that he's gone through, personally, professionally, certainly on the international stage. Like it feels like Josh Morrissey is due something pretty good to come his way. Yeah,
no doubt about it. I would say the same thing about Kyle Connor, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to get that opportunity. I mean, it's going to be on Helly's shoulders when they drop the puck with the Swedes. But as far as Josh goes, I mean, yeah, you're just fingers crossed that he's going to be able to get back into the lineup. I mean, listen, I don't want to get on guys. Listen, they won the game, you move on. It's a single elimination, but Colton Parayko just looks like a different guy when he's out there with Morrissey. I mean, you're having that calm puck mover to play as a partner with. It wasn't as clean, shall we say, when he was out there, otherwise. And that's, I think, a big reason why we saw Doughty and Harley out as much as we did when Taves and Makar were on the bench.
Put it this way, and I did have a few people ask me, like, is it possible Josh is healthy and they just decided not to play them? Like, no. Jon Cooper knows that Josh Morrissey is one of his top 4 defensemen here, without question. And if Josh Morrissey was healthy enough to play, he would have played today. And I suspect the guy that comes out, Huss, is probably Travis Sanheim, who has kind of been used as that 7th defenseman here. I think it would be Morrissey, and Morrissey wouldn't be the 7th defenseman unless they had to limit his minutes. He goes into the top 4. He goes back with Parayko, where he practiced yesterday. And then other guys kind of move down a notch, and Theodore or Sanheim probably comes out of the lineup. So we'll see what Friday brings. The fact that this group at least has a Friday, I'm sure Josh Morrissey, like every Canadian player and fan today, is breathing a huge sigh of relief that the Olympics did not come to a crushing, heartbreaking end here on Wednesday night in the quarterfinals.
Just looking, and Remo, just keep this up for a minute if you wouldn't mind. The ice time numbers, and obviously Taves and Makar were, out there a ton. Makar especially 26:41. Yeah. And you add in his power play time, Harley almost 21 minutes, and then Doughty 14:18. Sanheim was 8:52. Parayko was 10:17, and Theodore was 12-13. And a couple of other interesting things from the forwards, Mike. Macklin Celebrini, 22-36, more than McDavid. And only Nathan McKinnon, who had 7 more seconds than Macklin Celebrini, was out on the ice. Obviously, the 5:55 for Crosby, who is big. And we'll kind of get into Nick Suzuki in a minute. Suzuki moved into Crosby's spot on that line with Marner and Stone. But bringing it back to the Winnipeg guys, Seth Jarvis sure made an impression in that 11-20. And I'll tell you what, I know they'll be bringing in Sam Bennett if Sidney Crosby can't go. I wouldn't be surprised if that Jarvis number is even bigger in the semifinal, considering the way he acquitted himself when he was out there for Jon Cooper today.
Yeah, I don't think it's Seth. If Sam Bennett is good to go and they decide to bring him into the lineup, and there's no guarantee, even if he is good to go, they could opt to potentially keep him out. But actually, with Sidney Crosby obviously being hurt, he's the only extra forward.
Yeah, he's the guy.
So they're not going to, unless they dressed 8 defensemen, they could do that. There is the option. You can play 12 and 8. I don't think they would do that, though.
No.
I think you'd still sit out a D-man and you'd bring in Sam Bennett. But you're right. Seth Jarvis, he was out there. The fact he was out there with whatever the tying goal was scored, that in and of itself was a sign that he was going really well. And I thought that line was really generating a lot. Great on the forecheck, and good for Seth Jarvis. He wasn't even supposed to be here. So he made the most of his opportunity. He earned himself some more time, and now the stage is set for an even bigger stage and spotlight on Friday, Huss. And this we kind of been waiting. Like, I'll be honest, the hockey during the preliminary round, like, it's been awesome to see all these great players. There hadn't been a whole lot of intrigue or drama. We've now gotten, between this game and what happened in Finland, Switzerland, and I think we're going to get a beauty here tonight between the U.S. and Sweden. Today is a bit of hockey heaven, I think, for fans.
Mike, just while you were saying that, I just got Sportsnet on here, and they played that Czech goal. And, you see the whole thing with 6 guys on, and then he scores, and then they all jump in, and there's 5 of them surrounding the guy in the middle. Like, it's one of the most bizarre things I think I've ever seen. Like, for it to be too many men for that long, for a go-ahead goal to be scored in an elimination game, and nobody to catch wind of it. I mean, that'll certainly be something. Might be a tough post-game discussion in the refs' room. They might be pleased that Canada won, because holy smokes, would that have been an international incident if it had gone the other way. Hey, thanks so much for doing this. I know you're going to get back in very quickly. How was your night away from the rink last night?
It was absolutely fantastic. A great meal, amazing meal, actually. Pasta, bread, with the olive oil and all the great salad.
You had the pizza there?
I've had a few pizzas here. The pizza is incredible. I even mixed in some greens, mixed in some vegetables last night, Huss, with a salad.
How different is the pizza? How different is the pizza from North American pizza?
Well, they the crust is big and puffy, and at least the pizza I've had, like, New York pizza or whatever, it's like you got the really hard crust and stuff. So if you like your pizza maybe a little, I don't want to say soggy, because that makes it sound yucky. But so I actually had a ham and pineapple pizza the other day. They have ham and pineapple.
That's approved.
In Italy, absolutely. It was great to see, and that was probably my favorite. I think I've had 3 different pizzas. The ham and pineapple one so far is my favorite. Now I'm getting hungry just talking about it, because I'll tell you what, as great as this rink behind me is, the food here, the amenities are horrible. Absolutely horrible. There's it's like power bars and apples from the hotel is kind of and when you're spending like 12 hours here at the rink, all you can usually think about when you leave the rink is getting your hands on a pizza or something. But yeah, last night's dinner was great. Actually got to bed around 2:30 last night, which by far is the earliest I've actually been in bed. Most nights it's closer to 4:30, even 5. And again, that's not from being out painting the town red. There has been none of that whatsoever. So we got another busy stretch here. There'll be games at night for, well, I guess right through to Sunday, when the gold medal game is going to be a daytime game here, because the Olympics come to a close. So yeah, a lot of fun. And just a quick heads up on a fun story that I'll have coming later today, Huss. Another great Manitoba-Winnipeg connection that, and I think people maybe knew about this one, but I actually spent time during the first intermission today with Tom Wilson's Winnipeg family. Now, Tom Wilson is a player, love him or hate him. What's that?
The Pishkeys.
The Pishkeys, yeah, they're all here.
Volleyball royalty.
His wife, Taylor, Garth, of course, Manitoba Sports Hall of Famer, who went to 2 Olympics himself in volleyball. He told me it's way more nerve-wracking to be at these Olympics than when he was a participant. He's the father-in-law of Tom Wilson. So absolutely fantastic people. It's a fun little story just on, they know Tom Wilson is both loved and hated. They obviously fall into the love category. He's family for them. So that was a real fun one to do, and I'll have that coming up shortly.
By the way, next time you hook up with Jarvis's buddies, I would like to get their reaction to the fact that you can only buy 10-ounce Coronas and one per fan at the building as well. I'm sure that'll be an issue that will be will be hit on that. I've seen people saying, you see these Eastern Europeans come into the building and they go up there and they think it's a joke. I mean, they're used to being able to get like 2 60-ouncers, like basically 2 super big gulps at a time. And that's not the way they're doing it at the Olympic Games. But Mike, listen, thanks again for everything. We'll let you get in. Really looking forward to this game coming up in just a few minutes between the States and Sweden. And we'll look forward to catching up with you after the game on Friday when we see if Canada is moving on to the gold medal game. Thanks so much, Mike, and keep up the great work in the Freep. Looking forward to that article on the Winnipeg extended family of Tom Wilson.
Right on, Huss. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the day.
Good stuff. There is Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Free Press. All right, Murat's going to join us in just a sec. Coming up a little later on, we'll bang out our Chud's Power Sports Power Poll for the quarterfinal game on from a Canadian perspective. Of course, Chud's Power Sports is Manitoba's undisputed power sports superstore for over 80 years, serving the Manitoba community. And one trip just to chudspowersports.com will let you know what you're dealing with. An absolute plethora of the greatest things that you're going to want to work on for 12 months a year. Of course, you've got the Remo, throw back to the Chuds. There we go. We got the Green Tag sales event right now for Arctic Cat sleds. We got the Snow Day specials for Polaris. And tell you what, with all this snow that's coming this way, although not as much as we expected right now, I'm fine with that. A great time to get out on the trails, but spring and summer is just around the corner. And that means great winter deals on bikes, on boats, on motorhomes, or maybe an ice shack to get out and dominate ice fishing season right now. Bottom line is the trip to Gimli is worth it. Corner of Highway 8 and 231, the most experienced staff in the province with great deals on literally everything to make the most of your time outside of the house with the great people at Chud's Power Sports. ChudsPowersports.com. Click on that e-commerce store link in the top right as well for great clearance deals on gear and accessories over at TrueNorthParts.ca. We had a great conversation for Bomber fans yesterday with Zach Caleros. Check that out if you missed it. And our Winnipeg Blue Bomber reports brought to you by Princess Auto are just around the corner as we get closer to football season. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsors of WST and the Bombers in their home Princess Auto Stadium, and the place where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new waiting for you at Princess Auto today. So pop by and see them, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, Brandon as well, or shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. And, we were mentioning all the fun stuff at Chud's Power Sports when you're talking about your sleds, your boats, your skidoos. You can get it all. And guess who's powering all those suckers? Manitoba Battery, of course, your local option for the best in batteries with #1 ranked customer service and the best prices in town, period. So like Donnie says, gang, stop wasting time at the big box stores. Save time, save a heck of a lot of money, and get the best service around with your local option, Manitoba Battery, where your shop local save money and time as well. They'll also deliver those batteries to you for anywhere inside the perimeter of Winnipeg if you can't make it down. Get online to manitobabattery.com to check it all out. You can pop by and see them. Dovercourt Drive in the south end of the city, the original location on Logan Avenue. And for your car, truck, if you're wondering where your battery's at, pop in. Free battery testing. They'll take good care of you. And if you need one, you'll get the best price in town on a new battery. All waiting for you over at Manitoba Battery today. Again, online at manitobabattery.com. We will look at the clean line lines a little bit later on and make some plans for the game. Pat Gregoire is going to jump on with us a little bit later on. But right now, let's welcome in our good friend Murat, who I'm sure, like the rest of the nation, was sweating that one out. Murat, I jokingly said never in doubt, but it very much was in doubt. And the Czechs, we kind of referred to as Canadian kryptonite over the years, almost did it again. What a game.
What a game. I've had a chance to take a lap, like a real hot lap, into every room of my house, out of every room of my house, change the diaper. Like, we've calmed our stuff a little bit in this house, but when that goal went in, however many players were on the ice, 7 minutes and 40 seconds left in the third, sitting there going, oh my goodness, as good as Canada is, they might be out of racetrack here. For it to go the way that it did, redemption for Nick Suzuki. You might call it redemption for Mitch Marner, but certainly a big, big game play from him. And now we're looking at the semifinals ahead. What a turn. Hearts racing, just reliving all of it now.
Hey, just before we go through everything from a Canadian perspective, have you ever seen a more bizarre too many men goal in a game with as high stakes as the third goal by the Czechs, of which no one seemed to notice?
No, never. And the stunning thing is how few people seem to notice. I first saw it in the Thomas Drance tweet. I don't know if that's where you first clocked it, but this was after the game. He's sharing a screenshot of it. But you go back, there's so many Czech players on the ice. You see it. You can see it in the celebration of the goal. In the celebration of the goal.
They just broke it down on Sportsnet. It was hilarious. Like, they show the goal, and then they run in, and they've got the guy that scored in the middle, and there's 5 guys hugging him, and they're doing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, it wasn't like, he was out there for 10 seconds and then got back before anyone noticed. They just played with 6 guys, scored, and that was that.
And we all took it. Like, I didn't see anybody hitting with the outrage. It was just, oh my goodness, like, Canada's in trouble now. Nobody was complaining about the missed call. And then apparently in the Czech room afterwards, oh geez, who was it? It wasn't Wino. It was another, with Luke Fox maybe. Hold on. James Duthie says that he showed the clip to people in the Czech room, and they didn't know, or at least they were acting like they didn't know that there were too many of them when they scored either. So, like, how does that happen? I have no idea.
Bottom line is Canada escapes and moves on. Huge loss for Canada and Sidney Crosby. And, I think late in that game, and that, after that last TV timeout, when the team was down a goal, you're saying, okay, who is going to step up? Pretty cool for Nick Suzuki after missing that open net that would have given Canada the lead earlier in the game. He moves into his natural position at center in between Marner and Stone and ends up getting his stick on the puck that, really was the sort of goal they were going to need to beat a really dialed in Lucas Dostal. I think is reminding everyone that if you haven't watched much of the Ducks, they've got a legit number 1 for the foreseeable future. He was awesome today.
Yeah, incredible goalie. The kind of goalie that if you do spot yourself a lead, even by 1 goal, as the Czechs did, like, you can pack the house and park the bus and trust that he'll get most of what he sees. And so that play by Suzuki, yeah, let's start there. Let's start with that. Needing a bit of redemption. He's already been in the offensive zone for a full shift with his line mates. The Czechs counter, they go play a little bit of defense, and then the puck ends up on his stick. And that should not be lost in how huge of a play this was, because he breaks the puck up ice. He's alone. He's 1 on 4. So what does he do? He tries to buy time for help, and he makes an amazing play, chips it in the corner. He chases it down. After he chases it down, he takes a hard hit in the corner. He's a step behind body position-wise to where the puck heads towards behind the net. And then he wins the race to get that puck after all of the shift that he's already had, and then goes to the front of the net and makes an incredible all-world deflection, gets the bounce just right. That is such an extra effort play all the way up the ice from Nick Suzuki. And after hitting the post, that's a play he'll see in his nightmares still. It couldn't have been a better redemption arc for a player who's a tremendous all-around player who deserves to be on this team, and now he's got his mark on this tournament too.
Yeah, he didn't seem as comfortable playing on the wing. And listen, you never want to lose a player like Sidney Crosby. I think that goes without saying. But it did allow an opportunity, I think, for him to get back into a position where he was feeling a lot more comfortable. And frankly, I can't imagine the internal pressure a guy like that was feeling at that point, Murat. Considering, the chance that he had earlier that went off the post, the fact that the tournament hadn't gone really well for him. I mean, every guy on this team is playing with, a sort of pressure that you would only potentially maybe feel like in a game 7 of like a conference or a cup final.
People act like they're not on the highlight reels. They're not putting up the record chase that Connor McDavid is doing. They're not lighting it up on the power players scoring 4 points against France. Like, they're not incredible all-world players. And again, from tip to toe of this roster, including Suzuki, who hasn't had his best offensive performance. He didn't look comfortable, just like you said. There is so much to his game, and there's so much dimension to his game. And that's true of players who aren't very heralded on this Team Canada team. Nice to see Marner as well. I mean, I think he gets a lot more press and publicity, whether he's playing well or poorly. There's that. Hagel made some big plays. Tom Wilson made some good plays. There's a lot of quality on this team. And just because they're not in that top 6, well, maybe Sidney Crosby's injury, which sucks on so many levels, does let us appreciate some of the other players that step into the void left behind. Hopefully Crosby is back and all is well. But when he left the ice and you see the shot of him walking down the tunnel, I think that's a really courageous, brave player who doesn't want anybody to see how bad it hurts. I think he was in a lot of pain.
Yeah, and of course, I think that probably means, I mean, listen, it's all speculation, and I don't think Jon Cooper really had anything for us afterwards. He said he hadn't spoken to the doctors, according to Mike. But if Sid can't come back in that scenario, in that situation, kind of feels like it's more than something that probably keeps him out for the next game, which is really unfortunate. Hey, Reem, while we're having this chat, if you wouldn't mind, throw up a quick poll. I'm interested in how people are feeling about this game right now. Now, I know there's all the Canada-US stuff, but who are you pulling for in this game? The USA or Sweden? And not just, I mean, it's not done in a nutshell. I mean, if Sweden wins, Sweden plays Canada. If the States wins, Canada gets the Finns, and the gold medal collision course of Team USA is still on. Like, if this was the gold medal match and Canada wasn't in it, I would expect it would be like 99-1 for Sweden, and that one person would just be a massive Connor Hrabchak fan. But it's a pretty interesting scenario, Murat, right now, based on this game. It kind of feels like Sweden's getting it going, and I'll tell you what, if they are able to beat the States, they would come into that game, I think, with a ton of confidence and a ton of momentum. Whereas the Finns had a tough start. They barely escaped the Swiss. I kind of like the Finland matchup. And listen, I think that we almost deserve a rematch of Canada-USA in the gold medal game. So I'm kind of hoping that the Americans do get it done. Not that I'm wishing good for anybody really on that team, outside of Connor Hrabchak.
Yeah, the maximum drama route, like the one that's going to tear our hearts into the most pieces and then ideally send them soaring to the highest height, that involves having to go through Team USA in the gold medal game, and that requires a Team USA win today. But Team Sweden is playing the 2010 Team Canada role right now, starting a little bit slow, getting some pieces back, starting to build a little bit of momentum. And like you say, like I don't know what time it is. It's probably just starting, I guess. I don't have it on in the background yet. If Sweden puts together the kind of game that it's going to need to beat USA, then you have to respect the process. Like, if it's anything but they snuck through by like a fluky goal like what Swayman gave up the other day, it's got to give you a lot of belief in their ability to play a complete game. And that in of itself will be scary. I thought the Czechs were an amazing counterpunch and played their strengths and Canada's weaknesses to a T. Sweden will be able to change some shifts together in Canada's zone. That would be a whole different level of threat. Yeah,
5 minutes in at 0-0. Shots are 5-0 for USA. And as I expected, there's a lot of elbows up in the chat. Sweden above 80%. So there's some things you just can't get over, I guess, in this. That being said, I want Canada to be in the gold medal game first and foremost, and I want it to be Canada-USA. Winning that gold would be that much sweeter to do it to them again in the final. Let's talk about Josh Morrissey. Mike was just on. It's interesting that, Jon Cooper said he was going to talk to Josh before the game, and then he wasn't out there. So you're really hoping that he gets back in. Just thoughts on the difference that Josh will make on that blue line, especially on that pairing with Parayko, who looks a hell of a lot more comfortable out there when 44 is on his side.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild. I read Arpin and Pierre Lebrun's piece the other day saying that Josh Morrissey looked like he was at his best at practice, no limitations whatsoever yesterday. So hopefully this is just precaution. Boom, they're heading for the semis. I would hate to think Team Canada is thinking, hey, this tournament's getting intense. We can't throw him on a moving bus, because Josh Morrissey could be the second best defenseman on this team. He's an incredible player, and he gives you exactly what, to your question, he gives you exactly what Canada was missing today. If you look at the moments that Canada got into problems against Czechia today, it was shot selection and it was risk profile at the offensive blue line. Shots that didn't get through, Harley into traffic, Theodore into traffic, Theodore getting back without his stick, multiple plays. Parayko, some breakout passes that were a little bit slow because now he's got to do a bit more puck moving without Morrissey there. If you're looking at something that Josh Morrissey is going to add to Team Canada, even at that level, he's going to make great decisions at the offensive line. He's going to jump up when the opportunity is there. He's not going to fire the puck into shin pads or skates, leading to that counterattack that was so deadly for the Czechs. And you might have even heard Mike Johnson on the broadcast when McDavid was cutting up ice. Parayko had the puck on his stick. He said, move it to him. That's frustration, because there are lanes to Canada's forwards that are not being hit. Josh Morrissey's one more player who can hit those lanes, tape to tape. He's going to add, assuming he's back, I believe he'll come back. I want to believe he'll come back. He would add a whole other dimension to Canada's defense right now.
Hey, just while we're mentioning Josh, what do you make of Kyle Connor? A slower start, and now boom into the press box, and that's probably it for his Olympics. I imagine if they win, they keep the same lineup, and if they lose, there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame for him just in his own individual arc, because he scores so well for Winnipeg, because he scores so well in the NHL. He's put together so many points relative to other American players, and he just hasn't been able to prove to Team USA brass that he deserves that continued spot. This is the same thing as at Four Nations. And that does a couple of things. One, it makes you wonder if there's something that Team USA has seen in the past, because he's not always been their first pick, even years before Four Nations. He didn't always get the USNDTP love, all of that sort of stuff. It makes me wonder about that. The other is, if they're just based on the style of hockey they want to play, if they see holes in Kyle Connor's game that maybe they're leaning on harder than Winnipeg would. And some of those holes could be shift length. Some of those holes could be on the defensive side, getting pucks out, defensive zone coverage, those sorts of things that are easier to hide when you can play Kyle Connor 22 minutes a night like Winnipeg does sometimes and get so many points from him, than when you have other options. And if you're a Jets fan, you probably want three more Kyle Connors on your team to make it into a legitimate contender. But to see a team like the States treat him as a player with holes in his game, it just gives you pause. And you hope he can just use that as motivation when he's back with the Jets.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's like it was funny, and there were some people getting on Connor in the chat yesterday, and Remis made a great point. No Scheifele in Game 7, and who's out there scoring 3 points and having a big part? Kyle Connor. I mean, he has been a guy that stepped up big in the playoffs before on a number of occasions, and I think it's more the style of play that they were looking at, that they didn't see it early, gave another guy an opportunity. And listen, it's not like they replaced him with a bum. I mean, Clayton Keller's a pretty damn good player too, and let's not forget some of the other guys that they left off the roster, in Cole Caulfield and Jason Robertson, which was the biggest head scratcher for me. But that is what it is. We'll see whether they survive and move forward. You know, it is sort of a bizarre world that we're here gassing up Mitch Marner and Jordan Binnington as heroes when normally they're on the other side when we're talking NHL the other 99% of the time. But just thoughts on the two heroes of today. The goal by Mitch Marner in 3-on-3 overtime. And once again, Jordan Binnington, never nervous. Huge when the team needed him, in both late in the third period and in OT.
Yeah, I can't shake it. I can't shake the mistrust. I can't shake the thought that Jordan Binnington is chaos incarnate. I can't shake the thought that he's so confident and so willing to be acrobatic instead of simple, that at some moment it's all going to go. Like, I still feel those feelings. And I think I saw somebody post in his last two games, his save percentage is in the 800s or what have you. But game on the line, breakaway, isn't that Pasternak who he stops? And then overtime rushes, he makes those saves as well. We saw the gold medal game a year ago as well. And I want to say that when you see process like this, the bottom falls out eventually, but he keeps stopping the puck and Canada keeps winning. So eventually I'm going to have to shut up. I'm not ready. I still don't feel safe about it. Mitch Marner, psychopathic decision to keep. Just the level of chill, the level of patience with the puck on his stick as he busts into the zone to set up his own goal there. Because when he's moving at that pace, he's watching all three defenders. He's making a read of what's going to open up or not open up in front of him. And he holds the puck and he waits and he holds the puck and he waits. The moment he has a chance, he's got a backhand play on net. That is an extremely high hockey IQ play. And good on him. I know Toronto media can be crazy and intense. And when you're not delivering, it can be merciless. So good for him. Team Canada needed a play like that. He delivered it. Happy to see it happen.
Shout out to our Canadian women. Looks like they've just won a bronze in the short track relay. I'll be watching that tonight. I'm here for short track relays at any point. That is like roller derby on ice. But looks like we've got another medal as we move on to the medal that it seems like the nation's most dialed in on. That, of course, is Olympic gold in men's hockey. Did you catch much of everything else going on? The Slovaks crushing the Germans 6-2, and then as we just kind of talked to Mike, massive rally by the Finns, who looked dead and buried in the third period. They come back with two, and Lettinen scores his second in overtime to advance to the semis.
Yeah, I caught the end of that game. And just the swing in seedings and how it's all going to affect the semifinals is huge. With Switzerland not making it through, you feel for Nino a little bit. That's a classy guy right there. But Finland is such a complete team, such a good team. You almost like to see quality advance. And so credit to them for digging deep. And that top shelf goal that Lekkinen scored was just incredible. That was ice in his veins stuff from him. So credit there. I haven't seen much Slovakia, and that's a special story as well. I love the idea of Slavkovsky just putting on his country's jersey and finding new levels all the time, but that team's going to be even deeper than him. So that's an interesting story as well. And then in the background of all of this, I got my heart aflutter, just a little nervous. I think the Team USA women are just at a level unapproachable. And I'm afraid for what happens tomorrow in that gold medal game. Yeah,
dude, the women's hockey conversation is it's concerning from a Canadian viewpoint. Now, we'll do the autopsy after the game tomorrow, and listen, that's why they play the games. But we've never seen Team Canada anywhere close to as big of an underdog as they will be tomorrow night. And when you see, I think from. And I think these are bigger conversations to have with the real shot callers in women's hockey after the Olympic Games. But if it goes the way it looks like, I think the big questions are whether it was sticking with a team of veterans that had been there a long time and ignoring the young players, or maybe worse, we don't have the young stars that the U.S. has right now. Because you watch that American team, and it's Carolyn Harvey, it's Abby Murphy. They're the standout stars right now of their team. They're not even in the PWHL yet. They're playing at Wisconsin. They're playing at Minnesota. And it does not seem like the Canadian contingent has that next generation of stars, borderline superstars, that the U.S. is filling their squad with.
Yeah, if it comes to that, I cannot wait to read the deep dives on it, because I know at The Athletic, Haley Salvian, just a phenom in terms of covering women's hockey. When the rosters were named, this discussion about picking veterans over youth, it was front and center, right? Like, I think that those who follow it do wonder about that. But the scarier thing is what you're saying. What if the horses aren't there? What if the next generation of development isn't there? And from what I understand, and I'm not an expert on this, so like correct me, I've looked and seen that the U17s aren't going Canada's way right now. Like U16 isn't necessarily going Canada's way right now. And it may be, or at least a few years ago, it wasn't, for the players that are now in this tournament. That could be a really big conversation, even beyond the veteran versus young player dynamic. It's wild for me too, just looking at coverage of Team Canada, and you hear about the vets, you hear about Nurse, you hear about Marie-Philippe Poulin, who is, of course, Captain Clutch. If somebody can turn this around for us tomorrow, it's going to be her. But like, where's the Daryl Watts love? Where's, like, that's a young offensive player who's an absolute dynamo as well. It's almost as if we're not making like lionesses of the next wave as much as we could be as well. I think that I'm seeing a lot of discussion just focused on the most famous names, when there is a few players who, if anybody can match the speed of the Americans, then, Daryl Watts would be a player who could do it. Otherwise, you see 3-on-2s turn into, well, F3 has caught the Canadian puck rusher, and so is F4. They're just swarmed, and USA is going the other way up the ice. I cannot wait for the expert discussion of it, win or lose, depending on what happens tomorrow.
Let's just hope that MPP's got one more gold in her pocket to roll out. I mean, she is the female version of Sidney Crosby. I mean, Captain Canada. She wasn't there in the preliminary round. Hopefully she can rally the team and be a difference maker tomorrow. That game's going to go at noon. We'll be on top of it throughout the program. And around 2:30 or so, Liz is going to jump on tomorrow. We'll do a full breakdown of the gold medal game on WST tomorrow while we await Friday's 9:40 a.m. start between Canada and either Finland or Sweden. Just before we go, Murat, I'm going to let you get back to this Team USA of Sweden game. What are you going to be watching for? And what intrigues you about this matchup and these two teams, where they're at this present point in the tourney?
Yeah, I want to see who's chaining shifts together and who's handing off real, honest-to-goodness zone dominance, getting pucks into the middle of the ice, and then getting the chances from there. If you look at Team Canada thus far, they've controlled slot shots, even in these nerve-wracking games like the one that they just played in. I think the Czechs counterpunched against Canada. I don't think other teams are going to be able to do the sandbagging approach, the sort of like come from pure transition against Canada as well as the Czechs did, but they may have weapons to keep Canada in their own zone. For the States, I look at their active mobile blue line. I think that they've got some really great puck movers there. You want to see at what level they're playing so far. Sweden, obviously, they've got it as well, too. I mean, Dahlin and Hedman, and Erik Karlsson's been playing really well at his, even at this stage of his career. He found Philip Forsberg with just an incredible pass in their game yesterday. So there's a lot of levels here. I think that they're going to be a more complete test for Canada, whenever Canada gets to them. But that's my lens right now. I got the Maple Leaf on my chest, pure fandom, not writing about this. My heart's all in it. It all comes back to how does this affect Team Canada at the end of the day, whether it's the semifinals or the gold medal game.
It's crazy to think that the Jets are back practicing right now. And we told Connor to skip the practice today, be locked in on the game, and join us on the show. He'll be there tomorrow. And of course, we'll have you back at work after the Olympic break on the Jets beat as we get into the final 5 games before the trade deadline and then the stretch to the end of the regular season. But Murat, for folks and Athletic subscribers that have been watching the games, but maybe haven't been there as much because they've been missing you in your regular Jets coverage, just give a quick hat tip to some of your colleagues that are doing some great work. I've spent a lot of time at the Athletic over the course of these Olympic Games.
Yeah, it is amazing to send so many teammates overseas to cover it. We have multiple editors on scene. We have so many writers on scene. Like when you get the summaries after the game, you have people like Arpin Basu, you have Pierre Lebrun getting inside quotes and inside information that maybe other people aren't necessarily have the access to get. Chris Johnston, an insider as well. If you're watching the women's broadcast, you've gotten great insight from Haley Salvian on a tremendous panel. She is a driving force behind our women's coverage as well. Chris Pronger is writing stories for us at The Athletic during this tournament as well, sharing his insights based on his experience and really connecting to the stories of the players in the games today. You've got journals from players who are in the Olympics as well. I know Michael Russo partnered with Charlie McAvoy, and that's happening. You're getting insight from the players in the middle of their tournament. I'm sure I'm even forgetting some of the great names. Mark Lazarus has written some incredible features, wrote one about Connor Hrabchak, I think teeing up the next round as well. There is so much there. It's every single day, multiple stories a day that get updated throughout, and they're just such connected reporters that there's stuff there that you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah, listen, I know y'all are missing Murat. It's great to have him on the show. He'll be back next week, and then we'll fire it up with a lot of Jet coverage. But right now, it is definitely the place to be, in addition to all of Mike's great work over at the Winnipeg Free Press. Murat, we'll let you get back to the game. Thanks so much for doing this. Enjoy Friday and hopefully Sunday morning as well, and we'll catch up next week.
Hey, this is so rude. Can I borrow 10 seconds from you? Is that all right?
Of course.
Yeah, I promised. I was in a hockey tournament this weekend. I promised my teammates that I would show off the Spirit Award. You got to find a way to contribute, Huss. This is the Thelma and Louise Dump and Chase trophy right here. I got 1 assist on an absolutely stacked team in 3 games. So, I was helping in other ways. I was big in the room, but it was for a great cause. It's for IRCOM, which helps newcomers to Canada learn to skate, learn to play hockey, which is an after-school program. We raised some money for that. It's just a phenomenal thing, and it's called the Apocalypse Now Hockey Tournament. And I just couldn't help but say what a great time I had at it this weekend.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on that incredibly prestigious award. And it sounds like a great thing. Listen, if you want, just when we're done, if you want to fire over a link or something like that on the charity, we'll fire it up in the chat, and I'm sure there's some WSTers that might like to find out more about it and potentially support it as well. So if we can help out, we'd love to do that. So I know that's going to be, I'm sure Haley will love that being prominently displayed in your home for the next 40 years.
We've had some arguments over where exactly it gets to sit, but for now, it's my background here for you today.
Murat, thanks so much for doing this, buddy. Enjoy the rest of this game.
Thanks, Huss.
All right, we're still 0-0, 3 minutes left in the first period. We'll have Pat Gregoire join us in a few minutes for more on that. We will hit a little bit of golf talk as well. Folks, no better time than the present to count yourself in for the St. Boniface Hospital and get your tickets for the St. B Mega Million Choices Lottery. And maybe you will be Manitoba's next millionaire. Of course, everyone with a ticket will have a chance to win the incredible grand prize, the choice of one of 5 $1.5 million dream home packages, or take a cool $1.25 million cash, Canadian, tax-free in your jeans. But there's so much more than just the grand prizes. If you get your tickets before March 9th at midnight, you'll be in for $280,000 of early bird prizes. 3 incredible trucks up for grabs. There'll be 2 winners, either a 26 Chevy Silverado EV Trail Boss, that's $115K, a 2026 Ford F-150 Lightning Platinum at $117,000, or a $100,000 Fair Connect travel voucher plus $20,000 cash, or you can simply take $100,000 cash as well. On top of that, 2 winners. There's going to be 25 winners of an Apple iPhone 17 Pro valued at $1,600, or the Samsung Galaxy 25 Plus, or $1,000 cash. And of course, you'll be in for the grand prize draw, all in support of the amazing and very important research from our friends at the St. Boniface Hospital. So get them now, stbmegamillionchoices.ca. is the website. You can also get them in person, Red River Co-op stores, London Drugs, all for a great cause, the important work over at the St. Boniface Hospital. All right, have you booked off Friday morning yet? If you have, you might also want to call your local Boston Pizza and reserve a table for the semifinal between Canada and either Finland or the Swedes. And then, of course, Saturday morning, 7 a.m., bright and early. How about a schooner and a breakfast pizza for that? Hit up your local BP. No better place to get together and cheer on Team Canada than Boston Pizza. And they are locked in and behind Team Canada right now. So wherever you are, hit up your local BP, make your reservations, get your crew, and get ready to get the Reds on and cheer Canada on to gold. By the way, Reem, now I know our friends at Royal Sports have had a big run on their Canada jerseys right now, and I'm sure Greg had a little bit of a sigh of relief after Canada won that game today. But if you've been sleeping on the Canada gear, they got a ton more jerseys in. They've got the name plates. So they've got Celebrinis now. I believe they got Seth Jarvis jerseys and so much more. They're throwing out some Marners right now. Maybe your opinion of Mitch Marner changed a couple hours ago when he scored the OT winner. Bottom line, get ready for Friday. Get ready for Sunday at Royal Sports Winnipeg. There's our guy, Carter Chen. Carter rocking the Celebrini. You got the Mark Stone behind him. They are locked and loaded at the Olympic headquarters with all the jerseys, hats, hoodies, tees, you name it. Royal Sports has it. So get on down there. Get your Reds on for the weekend and Canada's Olympic quest for a gold medal in hockey. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Dropping a lot of this stuff on their Instagram. Make sure you're following them there at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Coming up in just a minute, our friend Pat Gregoire is going to join us. Do want to give a shout out to our pal Pitt over at Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge. Of course, the auction right now for the Aikens trip is up with our friends at the HSC. That's givergy.ca/savor 2026. I was talking to Pitt on the weekend. If you're a younger person, maybe in university right now, thinking about an incredible summer opportunity. I've never met people that enjoy their summers and jobs more than the young people that are working at Aikens Lake over the summer. I know they're looking for a couple guys, I think, to work at bait and tackle, maybe some of the laborers. Go to aikenslake.com for more information on that. Fire Pitt off a message as they look to get their entire team ready. And don't forget, if you're thinking of book this summer, they're over 75% booked right now. So get over to aikenslake.com and incredible place for corporate groups or couples trips as well. Maybe you and the missus or you and the mister would love to spend some time out in paradise. aikenslake.com for all your information on that. All right. Got to see how Patty's feeling after that game. First up, though, let's take a swig, a big swig, big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, we will have a little bit of Jon Cooper once we finish up with Patty. By the way, I'm getting a kick out of the chat of I'm just catching up on some of this. A lot of talk about the media meals, not there. Rob Mahoney saying, all I know is Ken Wee would be powering through the day with apples, power bars, and delicious water with zero complaints. # Team Ken. Rob, I'm just going to be straight. Ken's not as low maintenance as you think. Just kidding. But listen, anyone there, I think, is just geeked that they were in the building for a hockey game that we'll be talking about for a long, long time. Pat Gregoire of Coolbet joins us now. Pete, Greggy, how's the ticker after that one? There we go.
Oh, in a lot better of a mood than I was earlier, man. I was in shambles there for a bit. Absolute shambles. And thinking to myself, man, like, we cannot have our Olympics ended by 3-on-3. And then I reminded myself, well, look at who Canada has. If you can't win with McDavid, Makar, and McKinnon rolling out there, then you don't really deserve to win at all. But then they don't score. And then they give up that odd man rush. But Binnington, what a save. When he made that save, I was like, okay, here we go. I think we've got this here. But definitely, for whatever it is, whatever it's in the water and the food, the boiled pork, that is the Czechs, man, they give Canada all that they can give. And with the demons in the closet from the Worlds and the World Juniors, I had a weird feeling coming to this game that this was going to be a closer one than what we saw in the first matchup. I didn't think it was going to be this close, Huss.
No, yeah, listen, I mean, we weren't hammering the Canada puck line at 3.5 like it was the first round of the tournament. But, hey, I mean, you're there in the heart of Leafs Nation. What do we think about Canadian hero Mitch Marner? I'm sure that might do a little something to maybe warm the sentiments of Southern Ontario after their hometown guy ditched for Sin City.
Well, maybe for a little bit once this tourney's over. Who are we kidding? For today. But let's be honest, he's a 3-on-3 merchant. There's no way he was doing that on 5-on-5. But Jake said it so perfectly. We were talking offline, and he said that's the Mitch Marner experience. You need to pull out the GPS. You need to pull out Google Maps to figure out where has this guy been all game long, and then comes out with an absolute disgusting overtime hero. Like, talk about the onions to even think about doing that, and he scores. Like, that's just Marner to a T. It's Marner to a T, and I'm happy he's wearing the red leaf right now for Canada. He's a specialist. That's why they brought him in, because he's a 3-on-3 specialist.
Oh, look, Mary Jane and Dallas all saying, hey, Pat, very well-dressed guest, by the way, with the jersey. Unfortunately, we might be pouring one out for the guy with the C on his jersey. That, of all the things that happened today in a positive light, that's the one that really sucks. But I will say this, if there was ever a player that would be able to rally a team while being out of the lineup, the sentiment of do it for Sid is going to be very strong in that Canadian room if, in fact, he is unable to play in the semifinal and potentially the gold medal game.
Do you suit him up and have him like on the bench? Like, is that allowed first and foremost? Like, that's what I'd be doing him. I'd be putting him on the coaching staff immediately and having him there. I do really feel like
great question,
there was time.
Actually.
I would do it. I absolutely would do it. I just don't know if it is allowed, but he's going to have his finger on the pulse. He's the leader. He's Mr. Canada. He's the face of Hockey Canada for how long? And it would be so unfortunate that today was his last game. If anyone also can bounce back from a severe injury, it's also probably Sid the Kid as well. But I think you could feel his presence missed, not just with the depth and the fact that they had to kind of really blend up the lines and mix things up and really couldn't find much. Like, let's be honest, us, with the exception until finally Nick Suzuki with that unbelievable shift, beautiful tip. Outside of the first line, not much really was working well for this team. But I think where Sidney Crosby was most missed was after that goal, or when things weren't going Canada's way, having him, that calm, cooling presence on the bench. But, they've got other leaders there. They've got other guys that have won big games. It's definitely concerning, but losing your captain cannot be this big of a loss to completely nuke your tournament. You need other guys to step up. You need other guys to be leaders. And I think they have that, but you can't minimize it, Huss. It's going to play a huge, huge role on and off the ice.
Just listen, we'll get to the lines in a minute. And we'll actually talk a little golf. Because we can't really do anything for the semis until this game is finished, because of course, if the Swedes win, it's Canada-Sweden. If the States wins, it's Canada-Finland. However, we can do a little update on those futures we cranked out on WST winners. And how good are those Macklin Celebrini goal-scoring props looking right now? Patty, pulling it up at the double IHF site. Macklin Celebrini, the only player in the tournament with 5 goals. Nick Olsen, Tim Stützle, both have 4. They're out. It's Austin Matthews, it's Sebastian Aho, it's Dalibor Dvorsky, and Nathan McKinnon, all with 3. But 7-1 to lead Team Canada, 30-1 for the tournament. Any of our listeners, both of the show and of WST winners, are holding on some beauties right now. And what a treat it is to watch this 19-year-old with what he's doing on the biggest stage with the bright light shining on him every game. 7 seconds short of having the most ice time of any Canadian forward today.
Listen, Huss, I don't think people realize. I mean, I think they do realize, but I just don't think it's been stated enough. This guy could have been playing on the World Juniors a few months ago. That's how young he is, and he's been on the top line. They fill him in on that power play when Crosby goes down. He works great. I think also people are starting to recognize that he's not just a goal scorer, a playmaker. The guy also can get it done in his own end. He digs for pucks. He battles. He has a complete game to him. And if there was any questions of why this kid was given the opportunity, and not just to make the team and not be that healthy scratch, but give the opportunity to play on that first line, it's fully on full display. And this isn't just Macklin Celebrini, tapping in goals at the side of the net because he's playing with Connor McDavid. He's out there making his own plays as well. I've always been a big fan of him. He's made me a lot of money this year betting his props. But even as a Celebrini like myself who loves this kid, he has even blown me away even more.
I think I'm going to have to get the jersey just because of the good vibes associated with him. And let's face it, this wager may pay for it and a few other jerseys as well if things keep going the way they are. The other one thing though I wanted to mention is you mentioned McKinnon at 3 goals, potentially 2 more games for him to get 1 more, and that over 3.5 goals prop would catch as well. That one was at plus 130. So I don't have your guys written down here. I don't have Jake's either or yours, but the Celebrities have already cashed.
Yeah, it's Celebrini's already cashed, and we got more opportunities for Celebrini to make us even more money.
The McDavid points, I mean, we're done in the first 2 games. And here's the crazy thing. McDavid with the 2 assists today has tied the all-time record for most points in Olympic games. So assuming that he gets another point, he will set that record. Celebrini is 2 points off the all-time record. He's got 9 now. I mean, it's historic what McDavid has been doing, but the kid has been a huge, huge part of that as well.
I just noticed looking at that, shout out for Remis for getting that up. Martin Necas to lead the Czech in scoring. I had that one too. Plus 400.
Ding,
cash another
ding,
ticket.
Ding.
Sorry, Jakey. You had passed. Let's go.
I always love the head-to-headers on winners between Jake and Pat. Here's a couple things I'm looking at Coolbet. The curling coming up tomorrow, 2 a.m. on the men's side. Canada's locked and loaded for the playoffs with their win today. They're a minus 500 favorite. The Swiss are the other team that is locked in. You got China, Germany. China had a tough loss to the Czechs earlier today, and Sweden's had a real tough tournament. So things are pretty looking good. The futures right now out for the tournament, and it really does look like it's Switzerland or Canada. Switzerland at minus 112, Canada at plus 135. Count on a collision course of those 2 teams likely meeting in the gold medal game. Although Bruce Mowat sort of got off the mat, they had a big win earlier today. They'll likely make it in. It'd be nice if it was the 4 seed and then they would go against Switzerland. Great reward for finishing first. You get that number 1 ranked team, but Swiss and Canada have been the favorites so far. If you like Brad Jacobs to win the tournament and the gold medal, you can get him at plus 135 right now. And of course, tomorrow, the women's gold game goes. And dude, can you believe this? Canada is now, yesterday Canada was plus 330. Canada now plus 430 to win. And the puck lines moved to 2.
Yeah.
So I might just out of national pride bet Canada at plus 430, take a swing on it. I mean, listen, the States are and should be the big favorites, but we have seen these Canadian women do some incredible things in the past, and we got to see if MPP's got one more in her.
Yeah, believe it or not, Huss, too. And I don't know why we're seeing the shift, because at least on the money line, we're seeing more money come in on Canada right now on the money line. About 85% of the tickets, and looks like probably around 80% of the money is on Canada as well. So I think just a lot of national pride. I think a lot of people just, taking the value at that point, but it's crazy. I would have never thought there would be a world we're talking Canada, US in any sort of discipline of hockey, and the discrepancy being this big for either side for that matter. So certainly shocking. I think I'll ride with you. I think, hey, you got to do it. Let's just, let's take the good number. Let's cheer for Canada, and maybe an MPP goal in there as well too. Just the only thing for me is that, and I know it's round robin, but man, just US looked like what Canada looks like playing Latvia in the World Juniors in game number 2 a couple days after Boxing Day. Like, it just looked like two teams in different leagues.
Yeah, and that is a big concern for the tall foreheads, I'm sure, at Hockey Canada. But we'll see what happens tomorrow at noon. We'll be following it live throughout WST. Bronze medal game, the Swiss and the Swedes. Sweden minus 269, Switzerland 2-1. And if you do want to get in on this USA-Sweden game, it's at the end of the first period. Money lines USA minus 278, the Swedes plus 218 to win. And USA minus a goal and a half, plus 120. Patty, before you go, let's hit this Genesis tournament. What a weekend for golf. The Anthony Kim story, and I mean, I was lucky enough to get home just as the final 7 holes were going. First 4 holes I watched, he birdied every one. I mean, an all-time sports comeback story. And the fact that he came back in that round, like down 5 to Rombo and Bryson, I mean, just simply phenomenal. We'll be talking about that for a long time. And then the Genesis and Scotty Scheffler. I mean, you were texting me, Scotty's 6 under through 6 holes. He just birdied 7. I mean, if he doesn't miss 3 5-footers, he wins that tournament. But Morikawa's back. His irons were great, and it certainly sets up for a pretty exciting weekend at the Riv with the top players all here. Scotty Scheffler, 3-1, which is insane, but that's where Scotty Scheffler's at right now. Rory at 12. Oh, Fleetwood's moved down. He was 20-1 a couple hours ago. He's 18-1 right now. Decky and Xander at 20. Cantlay 25-1. Henley, Morikawa coming off his win at 28. And then a group of 33, including Fitz, Chris Gotterup, Siwoo Kim, Jake Knapp, Cam Young. And the 40s include defending champ Ludwig Aberg, our guy who's been terrible this year, along with Burns, Harris English, Ricky Fowler, Ben Griffin, Vic Hovland, Minwoo Lee, great performance last week, Bobby Mack, and Mac McNeely, who was really good last year. Who's on the card at the Genesis for P. Greggy?
It shouldn't really come as a surprise because it is a very P. Greggy card, but I think I have some good thinking and some good reasoning behind this. And let's remember, this is the first time we're back at the Riv in 2 years, because last year this tournament was held at Torrey Pines due to conditions that was going on in California with the wildfires. So right. Ludwig Aberg won at Torrey Pines, but he has not won at the Riv. But I think he could go back to back here, because I do think that despite him not winning here, I think the Riv is kind of built for Ludwig Aberg. Although I think we say Oberg every single time. Oh, this course is built for him. This course is built for him. It's just with how well-rounded of a player he is. Hasn't been the best start for him, though, for our guy. Miscut, withdrawn, T37 last week. But I really think that with everything rounding his game, it's great. And also, you always hear people talk about, okay, Riv course comp is very similar to the Masters in Augusta. Well, in 2 Masters appearance, Oberg has a solo second and a 7th there. So At 40-1, I think you're getting incredible value. I think just because his stock is so low with how slow of a start it's been. I'm going to go with the other Scandi Dandy, the other Scandinavian, and Victor Hovland, same number at 40-1. It's been an up and down start for him. Finished T14 in Dubai, then came over to the States here, finished T10 at Phoenix, but then a little bit of a step back at T58 last week at Pebble Beach. He's been great here, though. He missed the cut last year, but again, wasn't at Riviera. Over his last 4 starts at this tournament, when it's at the Riv, 4 straight top 10, top 20 finishes. And then he finished runner-up in 2022. And in 2021, he was T5. Next up, our guy, Akshay Bhatia, who has been on a tear lately.
Tough Sunday for Akshay. He was ashtray on Sunday.
He was ashtray. He was ashtray. But he's had 2 chances now to close out events and win, and he hasn't been able to do it. But it's crazy to say this, Huss. Bhatia's putting has been keeping him alive in a lot of these tournaments. Switching over to that broomstick, he has been great. On POA greens, he actually is gaining the most strokes over 50 rounds. Almost a full stroke. What's 1.18 strokes per round. He is lapping the field when it comes to that. He's been on a tear, like you mentioned. He did have a little bit of a disappointing Sunday, but still finished T6. The week before that, T3 at the Phoenix Open. So at 66-1, I think we're getting a lot of value on Bhatia. And rounding up my card, it's a long shot, but I don't understand this number for the quality of player that he is. 151 for Ryan Fox. Big Foxy. He's a big hitter, which I think this week at Riv is going to play a big part of it because it's going to be such wet conditions. So you got to be long off the tee, and you got to be long with your irons as well. Anywhere between the middle to long irons are super, super important at this golf course. And I was stunned to see when I was doing some research, from 150 to 170 yard approach, he's gaining 7.72 yards per round. That's 3rd best in the field. His putting is always so-so, but his putting has been okay as of late. 50th on tour right now, which shouldn't nuke his round. And that's really the only time when we see Foxy not in these events. It's going to be his accuracy off the tee, which it seems like he's got that figured out, and then also his putting, which his putting hasn't been too bad this year. And at 151, it had to be worth a sprinkle.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's kind of like the Canadian women tomorrow. I mean, when you see a number of someone that you know can possibly win at that, you maybe get a little on it. By the way, shout out to our girl Taylor Yule Miller. Great to see Tay back in the chat, and she's been busy back in. Appreciate your support as a member of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Very, very nice of you, and great stuff. All right, for my card, listen, it's interesting. I was doing a little bit of research on this one, and it's the least amount of shots, like 125 or under. So, I mean, the short game, that chipping, we want guys that can get it onto the green from like 150 and out. Long irons. Listen, Rory had a few blow-ups last week, but like when McIlroy is on, that is the name of the game. So I'm going to get a piece of Rory. 12-1 in a field like this feels like a great number.
Crazy.
I mean, listen, Scotty's inflating everybody else. But I'm going to jump on Rory at 12-1. It's 18 right now. I did get in on Tommy Fleetwood at 20 earlier today. Fleetwood's another guy with incredible accuracy with his irons. He's been right there playing some good golf right now. Wouldn't at all be surprised to see him contending. And I'll tell you what, speaking of irons, I mean, how dialed in was Morikawa on the weekend last week? And he kind of gets hot at times. And when he's hot, he's elite, like right there with the best in the world. So considering just kind of playing the streak right now, I'm not going to miss out on Morikawa at 28. And with a couple of those shorter numbers, I mean, that's sort of where I had. But we are seeing some signs of life in my guy, Tony Finau, right now.
Yes.
Tony has played well at Riv in the past. He had a 66 in the final round last weekend at Pebble Beach. Tony's 100-1. So whatever change I have in the account, we'll round it up and we'll put it in on Tony at 100-1. But Rory, Fleetwood, and Morikawa are going to be the 3 main picks, and then we'll take a big swing with Tony Finau. Patty, before we go, as soon as this game is finished, I imagine it won't be long before we've got the numbers up for the semifinals. And of course, now that we're into this medal round, a couple of extra 10% boosts that people can use on any of the games.
Yes, so just keep your eyes to our social. As soon as those go live, we're going to put out the odds for the semis. But you are right. If you've missed out on the profit boost, that's no problem at all, because you've had 2 for the group stage and 3 for the knockout stage. So 1 today for the quarterfinals, and then you'll have 1 more for the semis, and then 1 more for the gold medal. If you're not in that, it is okay. No worries. Just go to the promotions tab. And heck, you don't even have to opt in this one. It's just going to automatically come up when you pick your bet. So there's absolutely no excuse for you not to be in on the action and get a extra change when you go for your sprinkles for Olympic men's hockey.
Patty, great stuff, my man. Thank you for everything. Let's get some winners on the weekend. But first, let's focus in on winning those gold medal futures and a big semifinal for Canada against either Finland or Sweden. Have a great one, dude.
Yes, you too. I'm going to text you. Let's get a golf special up in the combo cards. We can text after and figure that one out.
Folks, and you know where to find those. We'll have them up in the combo cards. We've had a couple beauties actually lately. And, of course, there'll be a P. Greggy golf special as well. Pat, all the best. Give him a follow on X, by the way, at P. Greggy and at Coolbet Canada for more of the promos and all the stuff we cook up here at WST. Love the jurs. Love the jurs.
Canada,
Friday.
go, baby. Let's go.
Jake will jump on tomorrow. We'll have the latest on everything happening in and around the playoffs. I'm just kind of noticing in the chat that Rachel Homan gave up 3 in the bottom of the 10th end, and we are now into an extra end in the curling. So we're going to stay with it. You can have a chat. We'll have a little bit of a curling party. But I did want to get to some of these comments from Jon Cooper, who spoke after the game today while we watched these final few shots between Canada and Italy. Here's Jon Cooper, first and foremost on his goaltender, who stood tall when they needed it most in overtime.
Your thoughts on Jordan Binnington's game?
Well, it's the irony, right? Get the big save, go down and score the big goal. And it's tough because sometimes, especially that second period, he sat there for a while and then, comes out in the third and now he's got to make some saves and we give up the go-ahead goal. But knowing that, we have the ability to come back, but for him to shut the door, especially in overtime. Whew.
All right, Cooper with some high praise on Binnington. Here's his thoughts on the thriller 4-3 overtime win for his club.
What was that game like for you?
This is what it's all about. This is what the Olympics is for. And it brings out the best of the best. It puts the greatest countries, or the greatest hockey countries with the greatest players together. And that's what you get. And we're in the entertainment business, and if you're not entertained by that, I don't know if you have a heartbeat, because that was really, really exciting.
Yeah, it doesn't get much better. Now, we were talking about rallying around Crosby, potentially if he's out. Here's what Jon had to say about the team rallying around Sid after he had to leave the game after less than 6 minutes of ice time.
Well, I think a big thing walking out of the room was there's no way this was going to be Sid's last game. And that was the big talk going out. We just had to do it the right way, and we talked about it. We don't know when it's going to come, and don't rush for it to happen in the first 5 minutes, because it could come back. It could come in the last 5 minutes, and sure enough, it did, and went to overtime.
Was there a hint in that answer about his availability going forward?
Oh, no, I'm not hinting anything right now, because I'm not educated on what the answer is, so I don't know. I haven't been to the room yet.
All right, there's Jon Cooper. Mike mentioning hadn't been in the room or spoken with the doctors as of yet. I'm sure we'll have an update tomorrow at some point. How about Mitch Marner, the overtime hero? Here's what Cooper had to say about Mitch and the OT winner.
Well, for me, this 4th tournament I've coached Mitch, and he's delivered in every one of them, and at the biggest moments. And I think he is the epitome of calm. It just, I don't know, I think his pulse rate lowers when times like this come on, and that's how he makes plays like he does. That's how he did it against Sweden in the Four Nations, how he did it again tonight. And special player. I can't say enough that, what he does and what he brings, and he can play with anyone. And it's impressive to watch.
All right, there's Jon Cooper. Meanwhile, in Cortina, it wasn't easy. Came down to the last rock. Rachel Homan with the draw gets in about half an inch ahead of the Italian rock after that. Man, dude, that was close. And that was a win that Rachel and her squad desperately wanted to have.
Man, I have it on here. That was very, very tight to the button. And we have had a lot of Olympic activity here for Canada. Stephen Dubois winning gold in the 500 men's short track.
Sweet.
Danjanu got fourth in that race. A very chaotic 500-meter sprint on the short track. So it's been a nice day so far, and I'm going around all the channels, but I'll head back to Sweden, USA, as we still don't know who Canada is going to play, and the times for those games not announced either because we don't know the opponents. So we'll be staying tuned.
All right, let's see what the story is here now with the curling. So Sweden is in. This is the women's curling. Sweden is 7-2, and they played 9 games. Everyone else has played 8, with the exception the Denmarks are out. They're 4-5. So with that win, Canada moves to 5-3. So the United States, Canada, and the Koreans are all at 5-3. 2 of those teams will move on. I guess there's an outside chance that the Brits, who are 4-4, could win their game. I don't think there's a possibility that all 4 lose because I believe Canada in this final matchup is against Korea. But bottom line is that Canada was 1-3. They've won 4 in a row. They desperately needed that. They now don't have to worry about anybody else. They need to take care of their own business. And finishing up this round, they got their win in the extra end against the young Italians. The final draw goes 2:05 tomorrow. And Canada is going to be playing the Koreans. I really hope both of those teams make it in, to be honest. I'm a big fan of the Korean women's curling team. But obviously, it's all about Canada. Oh, and bad news for Paterson and the USA. They play the Swiss, who Tirzoni, who has been, traditionally, one of the top teams around. And, of course, they're 6-2 right now with that final match. So they'll be a pretty big underdog. If they're to lose that matchup, I think the Canadians, based on the tiebreakers right now, if Curling Zone has it right, Korea and Canada would move on. But listen, just win your game, Rachel, and then you're in the medal round, and we'll have an opportunity to play in the semifinal and potentially for a gold medal. And obviously tonight, we're locked in on this hockey remote, but for the evening viewing, some amazing short track speed skating, and I hear there's a couple relays going on, and to me, that might be the most fun, event to watch, of sports that you don't really know a lot about, but you can't keep your eyes off it.
Yeah, we also had watched women's slope style skiing today. There's seemingly always some type of cross country race happening too, which gets very exciting. So I do enjoy.
Well, isn't today the mountaineering? The
ski mountaineering? That's tomorrow morning.
Oh, tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, our day's very mixed up with the long weekend, Huss. But yeah, tomorrow is ski mountaineering tomorrow morning. So it's kind of nice. You wake up, watch that. We have the women's final gold medal tomorrow. So still some marquee events. And Huss, I wanted to get to this. The Czech coach, Radim, is it Rulik? I did see Marek Zidličky on the bench as an assistant coach. Very pumped to see Marek Zidličky. Was great in the NHL. But Rono on X, who's a Czech hockey analyst, he's very into the statistics. This was what the Czech coach had to say after the game. The referees really worry me. What they're allowing against us is unacceptable. After every game, we send them 2 or 3 clips where they confirm that the opponent should have been penalized. I don't understand it. I just don't get it. I feel like everyone is afraid to call anything against Canada. We were basically playing against 6 players. I don't want to make excuses, and no one has to agree with me, but the video backs me up. In this respect, it's not a fair tournament. It was happening to us even against Denmark. The mix of NHL and European referees hasn't worked. Everyone calls the game differently. I watch 2 NHL games on replay every single day. The play Nate just made today, when his stick was touched on the breakaway, is always a penalty in the NHL, but it's suddenly not here. I'm really sorry about it. The guys deserved a top-level performance from the referees. They always admit after that we were right, but nothing ever changes. We should have had power plays against Canada, but they were afraid Pasta or Natchez would score another power play goal. And if Gudas was penalized, then Doughty should have been too for the hit on Pasta.
This is Rich. This is Rich talking about we should have had power plays when they had a power play and scored a freaking goal with 6 guys on the ice.
It's pretty amazing that he said they were playing against 6 players where there's photo. And I mean, the biggest one they didn't call of the game was the Crosby interference in the neutral zone in the first period.
It was ridiculous.
So I think you can safe to say that it was pretty terrible both ways. Like that, too many men on the goal there, egregious, should never, ever happen. And that's something that if they did say, hey, there's 6 guys celebrating the ice, like you can't even review that, which like makes me sick thinking about what would we be talking now if Nick Suzuki doesn't tie it and Marner doesn't win. Like it was crazy.
No, you mentioned. Hey, speaking of Suzuki, he ended up being one of the heroes for Canada. He could have been a GOAT if they didn't manage to come back on his tying goal. Here's what Cooper had to say about the play of the Habs Center.
So I thought Nick got better as the game went on. He had to play a big role when Sid went out, but that now we need one. And I'm almost going into 6-on-5 mode. We need a couple shifts before we get to that, but you could tell he was just buzzing. And he started feeling it, just on his forecheck and everything going on. I think he was getting comfortable with his line mates, but dig that out, throw it up, tip, all that thing was big time.
And they're going to need another big-time performance from Suzuki, especially if Sidney Crosby is not good to go for the semifinal. 0-0, 9 minutes into the second period. We'll finish up the program and head over to watch Sweden and the U.S. And don't forget tomorrow, throw the game on, throw WST on, and join us for a little bit of a watch-along. We'll have the latest on the women's gold medal game. And our own Liz Hood, she's going to be locked in on it. She'll join us on the program as well. And we'll get her thoughts on Canada, the USA, the game, the gold medal. And maybe we'll have time for either hopefully a big victory party after a big upset or have a little chat about, where Canadian, the women's program needs to go to get back on even footing or ahead of their arch rivals, the United States. Really fun show today. I don't even want to think about what this show would have been like if Suzuki didn't tie that game up and Mitch doesn't score in overtime, but we'll never have to know. Great win, Canada. Let's keep it rolling to Friday morning, 9:40 p.m. And again, Friday afternoon, hopefully will be another little bit of a Canadian victory party on the program heading into the weekend. And as we mentioned, get your plans made. I've talked to people at a bunch of bars. The rezos are filling up for 7 a.m. Not quite as early as the Sochi gold medal game, but pretty close. BYOB, bring your own breakfast. I'm sure they'll be serving beers, but if you do want to make your plans to do that, of course, our friends at Boston Pizza would love to welcome. Just call your local one and make sure that they're open. You can get your rezo and make plans to get together for what should be an amazing game. But there still is work to be done. Friday, we saw how close this one was. Hopefully maybe not as stressful, but we still got to have faith that Canada, even if Sidney Crosby can't play, can keep things going to gold. 0-0 halfway through the game between the Swedes and the Yanks. Connor Hrabchak still yet to let one in. We'll break that one down tomorrow, as well as talk Canada, USA, and women's hockey, more from the Olympic Games. and the Jets back at practice. Connor will be down at practice. He'll join us and fill us in on what's going on with the team as they get back to work ahead of the resumption of the NHL schedule next week. Huge thanks to all the sponsors that make everyone make this show happen each and every day. All of you for joining us live on YouTube. All of you podcast listeners out there listening. And, of course, too, Mike McIntyre once again from Milan, and Murat and Pat Gregoire for jumping on and joining the program. And, of course, Connor and Michael as well. It's going to do it for us. For Remo and Connor, I'm Andrew Paterson. Have a great one. Savor the victory, and we'll see you tomorrow for a gold medal women's game and a setup for the semis tomorrow on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.